Hello there. Meditating always feels good. It calms the mind and gives enlightenment. Let me introduce myself, though I suspect that you already know who I am. It's a pleasure to have you here. I am Buddha. But I wasn't actually born as the Buddha. I was a little boy called Siddhartha, conceived in Lumbini, Nepal, more than 2,500 years ago. Would you believe me if I said I was born into a royal family? I know. But you see, my father asked for a seer shortly after I was born. He was so eager to see my future. The seer told him that I have an incredible destiny. He said I would either become an enlightened sage or a Chakravartin, an emperor who would reign countless kingdoms. Can you imagine me as Emperor Siddhartha? Though I'm good at meditation, it seems my imagination can't take me too far. But then, as a leader, my father already had plans for my life. He expected me to become a great ruler of the nation. He didn't want me to grow up to be a sage. That's why he ensured that I would have a highly secluded childhood. I was protected from the hardships and pains of the outside world while growing up in the palace. The palace served me delicious yet healthy food every day. I never experienced what it's like to be hungry. They surrounded me with peers who showered me with admiration. Everybody adored me. To guarantee my happiness, I could not see or go through any hardships. But of course, human as I am, I also wanted adventure. As a young man, I dreamt of leaving the royal grounds and experiencing the outside world. I ordered Shana, my charioteer and companion, to show me around the kingdom. The day that I finally stepped out was when my whole life changed. As we traveled around, I noticed someone quite old and weak. It was my first time to see wrinkles on the skin. It greatly impacted my life because up until that point, everyone I had known had been vibrant, energetic, and attractive. We went out again the following day, and I spotted an extremely sick person. I was bewildered by the fact that there is a human being like that. I also saw someone move a body to a funeral pyre. These sights of old age, disease, and death were profoundly disturbing. I came to see how meaningless my life of luxury had been. What was the point if I was going to get old, ill, and dead eventually? When I learned this truth about life, something inside me profoundly changed. I was inspired to look for a more fulfilling way of living. At that time, I remember having a lovely feeling of being completely present. It was the day I was sitting in our garden under an apple tree. That's when I came to think that maybe this was the solution. I felt that all I had to do was shift into my actual self. I was so motivated to leave the palace and search for the meaning of life. I was also sure about my plan after seeing a monk meditating. My decision was about to take me to the most challenging part of my life. When I was planning to leave, I had a lovely wife, Yasodhara. We had a son that we named Rahula. It was such a hard decision to take a step and completely leave them behind, but I had to. You may find yourself in the same situation. Although you don't have to leave your homes and families physically, you must give up your constant need for comfort and your need. You must have faith that the higher and more lasting sense of well-being offered by the awakened state of mind surpasses anything the ego could deliver. It is directly accessible to all human beings. Like what I experienced, you can have transcendent experiences of simple awareness and well-being. Going back to the day, I left everything behind. I cut my hair, changed into Shana's robes, and departed the palace. As I traveled in secret, I encountered many individuals, including ascetics and yogis, who agreed to instruct me in meditation and the path of spirituality. I learned a lot from these masters. They have been a significant part of my journey. But then, though I achieved more delicate mental happiness due to my mastery of meditation techniques, I realized that pleasure was not what I was looking for. I want to be free of pain, but even in a highly developed state of meditation, I will still experience birth, aging, illness, and death. So I left my unfinished spiritual pursuits and turned into an ascetic. I was never satisfied. I kept asking myself whether my body was the cause of my misery. So I started practicing intense self-denial to conquer all physical cravings. Of course, I tried not eating enough for so long. I then concluded that extreme asceticism was also not the solution after 7 years of doing so. As soon as I realized that, I hurried to stand up to proceed to my next step. That's when I passed out from extreme weakness brought on by years of starvation. Luckily, a young milkmaid appeared and presented me with a yogurt dish. What a refreshing thing it was. As soon as I recovered some of my strength, I sat on a grass mat beneath a revered fig tree. I promised to stay there until I discovered the whole truth. I spent 7 days and nights in deep meditation. During this, Mara attacked me. She's a demon considered to embody desire and delusion. Mara attempted to stop me from becoming enlightened by setting up several barriers in my path, including storms, rain, lightning, armies of demons, and amorous maidens. But I never wavered in my commitment to my objective. Eventually, Mara's blows were like arrows that transformed into flowers and vanished before they could hurt me. I had reached nirvana. We humans try to ignore things that don't concern us, push things that do, and draw things we like toward us. We desire tranquility. Those annoying ideas should be the last thing you want to disturb your meditative state. You would love to be free of anxiety and boredom. However, you are unable to. But you see, you can emulate my life as I teach you how to live in abundance and well-being. It's all about allowing Mara's daughter's onslaught and seductions, our own ego-centered habitual patterns, to fall away like flowers. As soon as I regained consciousness after meditating, I carefully considered whether others could comprehend my thoughts. The first goal that came to mind was to find the 5 companions who accompanied me on my ascetic journey. I don't know where to start seeing them. We had split apart when I decided to look for a less intense form of practice. But, thank the gods, I discovered them all seated in a grove. As we were then able to talk, they said that they were able to identify me from a distance, but chose to ignore me since they believed I had given up on the ascetic path, which was unacceptable. But then, as I approached them, they noticed I had a radiant glow about me. They said my bright appearance compelled them to greet me. The best of companions, are they not? They soon questioned me as to why I appeared to be so different. I gave an explanation, saying that I had finally discovered the end of my suffering. It was the first time I imparted my teachings, which would later be called the 4 Noble Truths. Do you want to know these 4 noble truths? Let me tell you. The first noble truth: suffering, or dukkha. Pain can take many different forms. The first 3 sights I witnessed on my first visit outside the palace were old age, illness, and death, which are 3 clear types of suffering. However, there was much more to the issue of suffering. Life isn't perfect. It doesn't always meet our standards. Humans have needs and desires, yet the satisfaction is fleeting even when we can satiate them. Happiness is fleeting, and when it does, it gets boring. Even without external factors such as disease or loss, we experience unhappiness and unfulfillment. It is the reality of pain. The second noble truth: origin of suffering, or samudaya. Our daily problems may appear to have clear-cut causes, such as hunger, pain from an injury, or losing a loved one. However, I had discovered the source of all suffering. It was far more pervasive than your current concerns. You must understand that tanha, or desire, is the source of all suffering. The third noble truth: cessation of suffering, nirodha. Releasing oneself from attachment is the first step in ending desire, which is the source of suffering. Nirvana signifies extinction. The path to nirvana, or enlightenment, is to kill the 3 fires of greed, illusion, and wrath. When a person achieves nirvana, they do not instantly vanish into paradise. Describing nirvana as a mental state humans can achieve is more accurate. It is a profoundly joyful spiritual condition, free from all negative feelings and anxieties. A person who has reached enlightenment is compassionate toward all living beings. An enlightened person is freed from the pattern of rebirth. I will no longer offer any concrete explanation for what lies beyond. I forbid my disciples from inquiring too much about nirvana. You must only focus on the work at hand, breaking free from the vicious cycle of pain. The fourth noble truth, path to the cessation of suffering, Magga. My prescription for ending suffering is the last noble truth, the Eightfold Path. The middle way, also known as my work, the Eightfold Path, avoids extreme asceticism and indulgence. I found them unhelpful in my quest for enlightenment. After meeting with those 5 companions again for the first time, I taught for 45 more years, imparting several teachings on mind-wandering techniques. As I know I am near my death, here is my last command: be a light unto yourselves. May you continue to learn life lessons even after my death. If I, who has achieved enlightenment, must die, is there any way for you to avoid death? But just as I was able to awaken, you also may. But not if you keep on denying the existence of your pain and miss the best opportunity to look beyond.